Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue our journey with Darcey and Stacey. Let's get to the show.
Yesterday, I saw another video of Florian and that other woman.
Yeah, that's just got to be awful. I mean, think about for yourself, your current spouse or past relationship, and you come across a video like that. Just imagine seeing your loved one, the person who says that they love you, the person who says that they're only in love with you, and you've been with them for 5 years, and you watch that. It's one thing to hear about it, like, you know, they did this, something to see it. I actually worked with someone once who was traumatized in this way. He had, I'll spare the details to preserve his confidentiality, but on accident, he had witnessed the infidelity. It's one thing to find out about it. It's another thing to see it with your own eyes. It really just burns into your brain. The trauma is just burnt in there. And it was a traumatic experience for him that he did have PTSD around. And so that's what she's going through right now. It's just awful.
From the moment I saw the video, I just felt angry, hurt, disgust. Can't believe this is happening. I just feel heartbroken. We just got married. This is the last thing that I wanted to deal with. Maybe I made a mistake rushing to get married.
So it's an interesting question that she's asking herself. Maybe I made a mistake. Now, what would the mistake be? I don't know. I don't know the full details of how they met or what their relationship was like. But if I was to develop some hypotheses that I would explore with Stacey as to what mistake she might have made, if she even made a mistake, because we don't really know why Florian did it. Maybe Florian was just playing around and it's just an unfortunate, stupid joke that he was playing. Or he did have infidelity. And like I've talked about before, a lot of people cheat, unfortunately. And recovery from that is a viable option for people if they want to do that. So if Stacey wants to recover, then that's a path available to her. It happens. It's to make it a broader topic, almost everyone, if not everyone, will hurt their spouse in a significant way, whether through infidelity, calling them a bad name, ignoring them for 6 months because you're in a bad mood, or you're shutting down for your own personal reasons, or you're hurt and so you're passive aggressively pulling away. Whatever it is, all of us have hurt our spouses in some way, shape, or form. There's obviously a degree to that. And whenever we hurt our spouses, we're given the opportunity as a couple to recover from that. What do? We build trust back, we apologize, we give benefit of the doubt, we give time so that trust can be built over time. And infidelity is no different than that. But the question that Stacey's asking is like, maybe I made a mistake. So the hypotheses I would develop for her would be, let's look at the overall pattern of the men that you've dated and significantly dated, you know, not just like a couple months, but like long term. What is it about those men that you were attracted to? Let's look at that. And let's look at the relationships that you look back on with some fondness. Like maybe there's a relationship where you're like, yeah, we had a great 6 years and we grew apart and we broke up. And it was sad, but I look back and I say that was a good choice. I like him. Or would she look back at a whole string of relationships that she considers to be quote unquote failures? I don't like the term failure because that implies somehow like you just made a mistake or something. But, you know, we're all just bumbling our way through life. And if every relationship that ends is a failure, you know, a failed marriage, then we are all failures according to that definition. So the only person who is exempt from that particular failure is the person who marries their 13-year-old, you know, boyfriend or girlfriend, and they stay married and then they die on the same day when they're 95 years old. That couple never failed. Everyone else has failed at some point in their relationships. Anyway, so I would want to know the history of like all the different relationships she's been in. The little bit that I know about, one hypothesis I would throw out there is, what is it about your personality and your traumas or your whatever that's making you attracted to people that don't live in your town? What is it about dating men in your town that is so unappealing? And this goes for both Darcey and Stacey. There's nothing wrong with having a preference or randomly meeting people from not in your town, but it's not the norm. It's definitely the norm to meet people that are within driving distance, within an hour or two of driving. So what is it about that? Because to meet someone literally on the other side of the planet whom you can only afford to see with time and money every now and then. I think they in 5 years they saw each other 8 times, according to Stacey and Florian. That is not going to lend itself towards a proper evaluation as to whether or not this person is good for you. It isn't surprising that, given the fact that they barely ever saw each other, I don't know how many weeks or months are crammed into those 8 times seeing each other over 5 years, but I'm guessing it's not that much. It's not surprising that one or both of them would have some infidelities in that situation. Research shows that that can happen in long-distance relationships, especially at that length of time for 5 years. That's a long time. And you grow apart or you get needy or whatever, and something happens. So that's one question I would have is why is it that you're attracted to people over there? Now, maybe she has a whole string of relationship with men in her town that didn't go well, and Florian is the only guy. But somehow I don't think that's true. I think both of them have said that they have a thing for Eastern European guys or European guys. I don't know. So that'd be one question, because there are situations where people go through traumas where they're abandoned growing up or mistreated, such that as an adult, they either don't believe they deserve a good relationship or they don't trust other people quite enough. And so they will engage themselves in relationships where it never really is put to the test. The relationship is never put to the test because the person is convinced that if the relationship is put to the test, they will know the answer, which is it's a failed relationship from the beginning, because either they're not good enough to, themselves to be in a relationship, or the other person is for sure going to abandon me or humiliate me or whatever, do whatever my dad did to me when I was young, whatever the case may be. But if I have a long distance relationship and then the relationship I'll never have to know the answer to the question, is this a good relationship or not? And I can live in this fantasy world that it's a perfect relationship because the relationship hasn't been put to the test. I don't know. That's one hypothesis I would throw out there for her. Or is there something about men in your town that you have decided are people that you just don't want to date? And is that rational? I wouldn't be surprised if Stacey said, like, well, men in Connecticut, they're not for me because of this and this and this. And I would want to know maybe what those things were and maybe explore as to whether or not that was a rational story. Now, maybe it is. Maybe men in her town or her area of the United States are just 100% universally just not for her. I don't know. But that would be another thing that I would look for. Maybe there are things she's emphasizing while dating or falling in love that are not in tune with a greater chance of it working out. Like if she is really overemphasizing youth and the way someone looks on Instagram while de-emphasizing someone's personality and how compatible you are, then you're going to match up with some people that aren't necessarily compatible with you. And to be honest, I don't see a ton of compatibility between the two of them. Now, they have warmth and they have physical attraction, and they seem to have intimacy going pretty well in relationships that we didn't see with Darcey and I mean, we see it with Darcey and Georgie a little bit. Anyway, I'm rambling, but she asks a great question, and she deserves to explore that with a therapist that can really take the time and provide suggestions of avenues to go down with so that she can learn, did I make a mistake? And if this is a mistake and she breaks up with Florian and she decides to look again, wouldn't it be great if she could learn from these mistakes and not repeat them?
A part of me is scared, but I want to get to the bottom of it because I deserve to know the truth. I just hope that I can handle it.
So the other question that you all know I've been asking is, does Stacey know who she is and what she wants and what she really needs? Is she in touch with that? Or is she primarily focused on what other people want and expect for her and what other people's needs are? I haven't seen definitive evidence in either direction, which gives me the impression that maybe she isn't really in connection with what she wants and who she is. And as she heads into this conversation, it requires her to know who she is and what she wants. She has to go, if it's just the two of them, she has to go into it with, I deserve trust and I'm losing trust and I need to have trust in you. And I need a rational explanation as to what that was in those videos, in those pictures. I need a very solid story from you so that I know what's happening, so that I can check in with myself and say, is this a deal breaker, or do I need you to apologize sufficiently? You know, what do I need so that we can move forward together, or I need to move on in my own way? I'm worried that if she isn't in connection with that, she'll have a general sense that something is going on down there and something's wrong and something needs to be changed. But she won't know the road to take to fix it for herself. And she'll look for a way out of the discomfort, which she's done in the past with him, and the problem is never solved. So let's see what they do.
I feel bad to hurt my wife. I worry for Stacey. Told me to leave. I don't know what happened next.
So it's hard to gauge Florian. On one hand, he seems believable when he's saying that he's sorry and that he is in a lot of distress about this. On the other hand, it's not super convincing the way that he communicates. And that could be a lot of there could be a lot of reasons for that. One is that he just has learned at a young age that expressing his emotions weren't helpful. And so a lot of people will learn early on, there's really no point in expressing my emotions because it's just going to get bad things or people are going to ignore me. And so I'm not even going to feel my emotions, because if I feel my emotions, I'm going to be compelled to express them. And so let's just shut that whole thing down. I'm going to have emotions, but I'm just not going to know what they are. And maybe that's why Stacey and Florian fit well together, because maybe they both have that. I don't know. I'm just speculating, of course. So there's that possibility of just not, the emotions are down there, but learn very early on that I can't communicate them. The other possibility is that English is a second language for him, and it's just harder for him to express himself. And if we could speak his language, we would understand what he's thinking. Because just imagine trying to express a complex emotional experience in another language that you're not as fluent in. The other possibility is he doesn't have the feelings down there, or he doesn't have much feeling down there. And why would that be? Well, there's the small possibility he's a psychopath, meaning that he doesn't have the capacity for empathy. That's pretty rare condition. It's extremely rare. The internet thinks it's very common, but it's actually extremely rare. The chance of you coming across, more than a couple of these psychopaths in your entire lifetime, meaning close relationships, not just like someone you work with, but someone that's in a close relationship, it is pretty low to come across more than a couple of these people. Some people can go their whole life with never being involved in a close relationship with a psychopath, because they are pretty rare. Anyway, point is that there's usually other conceptualizations that the internet doesn't know about that are present that people interpret as psychopathy, or as what the internet would call sociopath. Anyway, there's a possibility is that there's just no way to know. I don't see any evidence to disconfirm it or confirm it. The other possibility is that he doesn't really care because he's never really been in love with Stacey, and he is just getting married to her because of some ulterior reason. It's hard to imagine that someone would do that, honestly. I don't know if I just have faith in humanity that people wouldn't do that, but it's certainly within the realm of possibility. All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle, in which I react to this show. Comment below, let me know what you think about what I've been saying. I do read the comments. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.